Lucy from Let's Talk Porsche. We're here today up in the windy fells to show off the brand new Macan EV. So first things first, obviously we've had a massive redesign on the front, starting off with these headlights. So these are now split, so you've got your daytime running lights up at the top here, very Taycan-esque, and then just below are the main headlight units here. Of course, we upgraded those to Matrix for extra functionality, just gives you a little bit more safety on the roads, especially in the evening. We've also got a redesign on the front, so you can see the wings are much more pronounced due to the shallower pitch on the bonnet here, and a much more pronounced front spoiler as well. This has been exaggerated again by the fact we've gone for the off-road design pack. So as standard with the Macan, they're all going to come with 20-inch wheels as standard, but of course we've gone for the 21-inch design wheels. We've also opted for the active air suspension as well. This is using the same technology that we saw on the Cayenne, where it's the 2-valve, 2-chamber for greater differentiation between the different modes. Moving around to the side, we've got a redesign on these side skirts. We've opted to have those painted in the exterior colour, which is slate grey neo. A couple of other nice options we've gone for are the roof rails, on which we've attached our roof tent. You'll be able to see that a little bit later, and of course the panoramic sunroof as well. Moving round to the back, we've got a complete redesign again. It's much more coupe in style, and you'll notice no rear wiper. You can option to have this back on, however it does give you an additional 4 miles without it, and that's down to the aerodynamic. So the new Macan EV is one of the most streamlined SUVs out on the market. It's got a drag coefficient of 0.25, which is significantly lower than its predecessor, and that's all down to the Porsche active aerodynamics, one of which is its adaptive rear spoiler. Now again, to tie in with this very off-road look we're going for with this Macan, we've optioned for the extendable tow bar as well. That's because the Macan EV can tow up to 2,000 kilograms. Now, of course, a big change from the petrol Macan to the EV is the charging port. We've optioned for the electronically opening one. This is a fast charging port with a little flap there for your DC charging, but of course you can charge AC, so the home charging on either side. Now let's talk about boot space. So in the new Macan EV, we've got a lot more space than we had in the predecessor. In the back, we've got 540 litres. We've also got the options here, or the controls here rather, for the tow bar and the lowering for the active air suspension as well. And then in the front, we've got an additional 84 litres. Now that's because obviously with being an electric car, the battery is in the floor plan. So we've got loads of extra space in here for throwing your rucksack, your bag, whatever you might have with you. Obviously, the predecessor, the combustion engine Macan, was a well-loved model. Since its release in 2014, we sold over 800,000 worldwide, which is why the Macan EV had some big shoes to fill, and I think it's absolutely smashed it. Let's jump into some of the changes. So, starting off with the driver experience cockpit, that includes our 12.6-inch curved instrument display, which has a variety of options that you can customise. So depending on what you would like to have in front of you, you can choose from having more assistance focused, more sporty focused, more media, more matte. We've also paired that with the augmented reality heads-up display, which you won't be able to see from there, but hopefully you'll be able to see on a display. This is going to incorporate elements like the sat-nav arrows or the lines for the lane keep assist, and incorporate that seamlessly into the real-life environment. Also within the driver experience cockpit, we can see we've got a push to start button, and we've also relocated the gear selector up to behind the steering wheel. Now, the reason for that is with an electric car or any automatic car in general, you only really touch that when you're stopping and starting. So we thought, let's save some valuable real estate here and just pop it up here. Speaking of the space around here, you'll notice there's a lot more storage in the center console as well, and also a cooled wireless phone charging compartment. So speaking of screens, we have the classic 10.9-inch digital display here, which is called our PCM, so Porsche Communication Management. There is actually an option to include a second screen just here, also 10.9 inch, and that's for the passenger. On this main screen here, again, a complete redesign. This is now based on an Android platform, which is why it looks wildly different to what we've seen previously in the Taycan, in the Cayenne, in the new 911, for example. And on here, we've got a lot more customization now as well. So that includes through themes. So at the moment, we've paired the black interior with like a nice, cool, calming blue. But if you wanted something a little bit more vibrant, we can swap that up to orange, to more royal blue, to green, and that's going to control not just this display here, but the entire theme, so along the here as well. We also have the addition of the App Store as well. So if we swipe along, we can go into the App Center here, and here we can download extra, well, apps. So things like your Spotify, things like an EV map, Crossy Chicken, Carpool Karaoke. Honestly, whatever it is that you'd like to have on here, we can install that directly onto the PTM, which kind of negates the need for linking up your Apple CarPlay or your Android Auto, but of course that's still an option. So a lot of nice features for the driver, but there's a lot of focus on the passengers here as well. We've opted to have the rear seats heated as well. And you'll notice as well in the back, because again, there's a lack of a drivetrain here, we've now got a much more usable middle seat. So a lot more foot space for your passengers. So we've actually optioned quite a few nice choices, which I'm going to run through now for you. Obviously, I've mentioned before, we've got the panoramic sunroof and we've got the heated seats at the back. On the front, we've opted for the 18-way adjustments for the seats, which gives you your lumbar, your leg extension, and also the side and seat bolsters will inflate or deflate to give you more of a bucket seat feel. We've also opted to have the illuminated Porsche badge on there as well, which I think is a really nice, classy touch. We've also got the ambient lighting, which doubles as a communication light, which will give you information about charging states, about drive modes, about, assistance settings. If someone's coming past you, this will then illuminate this whole section here as well. So it's beautiful, but also incredibly practical. Of course, then we've gone for the Bose, because if you're going to have carpool karaoke, we need a good sound system, which means we've got the speakers all the way throughout and the subwoofer in the boot. So that's a sum up of the interior. We've got the roof tent on our roof rails ready to go. So let's go for a drive. So Macan EV, we've got to talk about the battery. It's a brand new battery for this one. It's 100 kilowatts, 95% of which is usable as well. In terms of speed, whether we're talking charging or driving, it's fast regardless. This one is the two-wheel drive Macan. You've got the two-wheel drive, the four-wheel drive, and then you've got the 4S and the turbo. With a two-wheel drive, it's a single motor on the rear axle, and that's going to generate 360 horse, and we've got a 0 to 60 of around about 5.5 seconds. If you do want something with a bit more oomph, we've got the Macan Turbo, which is going to be over 600 horse and a 0 to 60 in 3.3. So you've got all sides of the spectrum covered with that one. The charging side of things, again, really fast charging with this model. So up to 270 kilowatts in terms of your charging speed, which means if you did stop to charge, you can go from 10% to 80% in around about 21 minutes. In terms of your range, now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So I'm not going to talk about WLTP because it's currently 3 degrees outside. We're in the middle of the countryside where it's not very economical roads. What I will say in terms of real life experiences, when we first got our Macan demonstrator at the centre, it was about September time, nice mild weather, and we were seeing low 300s on a full charge, which, to be honest, is phenomenal. With the first Taycan, we weren't seeing anything like that at all, so it's a big step up in the charging and the range technology. That's all down to the premium platform electric. Now, obviously, when you go into winter and you get to cold weather like this, of course, that's going to drop down a little bit, but it's still going to be more than enough for your daily commutes and your long journeys as well. So if you were going on a longer journey that was going to be gosh, 350, 400 miles, you're going to stop at some point to recharge yourself with a coffee, let alone the car. So at that point, you just plug it in, get yourself a coffee, and by the time you're back to the car, you're ready to go. In terms of when you're actually out for a drive as well, we can actually recuperate up to 240 kilowatts back into the car just from the regeneration. So again, that's all going back into that battery, all helping improve that range. So in terms of your charging, obviously if you're at home, we've got the AC charging. The Macan's going to charge up to 11 kilowatts on 3-phase or around 7 on single phase, which is what most domestic houses would supply. Whereas when you're out and about on your fast chargers, we can charge up to 270 kilowatts, which means we can go from 10% to 80% in just 21 minutes. So as I was saying, in terms of the drive itself, obviously incredibly comfortable. And I think part of that is down to the air suspension. At the moment, I've got it in normal mode, so it's sitting in quite a comfortable position. However, if I did decide to turn it into sport mode, or even Sport Plus, that would adjust the height, adjust the dampers, and just really firm everything up, giving it a bit more of a performance feel. It means it's going to be a little bit sharper around those corners as well, which can be helped actually by the fact we've now, for the first time ever, got rear axle steering in a Macan. So I've just put on the electric sport sound, which is a nice option, one that a lot of people choose. And as you can hear, when I accelerate or decelerate, there's a noise that goes along with that. Now, for a lot of people, that helps connect them to the speed, because obviously with being an electric car, you can very, very quickly get up to speed without realising. So it helps kind of connect you to your journey. It's a personal option as to whether you prefer that or whether you just want to turn your music up. But for me, I really like it. So after driving the car, what do I reckon? Well, I think it's probably one of our most versatile cars that we offer. I think I adored the original Macan, as did so many of our customers. And I think this is keeping very in line with what we loved about the Macan, whilst bringing it into that new electrified era. I think the charging is fast, I think the driving is fast, and I think there's a lot of lovely options you can go for, like the little details, like the illuminated logos on the doors, the fact that it's more of an off-roading Macan now as well. So we've got the off-road design pack, the air suspension, the roof tent, we've got the whole kit and caboodle. I think it's going to be very, very popular, and I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy the drive. Now, if it is something you'd like to experience yourself out on the open road, maybe not up the hills like this, but you never know, make sure you give us a call at the centre and we'll be sure to organise a test drive and see how that will fit really nicely into your day-to-day life. Make sure you keep an eye on the next video. Bye!